right, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the Smith Master of Finance information session. We're going to get started in just a moment, just allowing participants to join the session. So once I see that number stabilize, then we will get started. All right, good afternoon again. Welcome to the Smith Master of Finance information session where we are going to be focusing on QUAAF. That stands for the Queen's University Alternative Asset Fund. I have two members of QUAAF joining me today to discuss QUAAF, learn about how you can become involved, what different positions are available, and basically answering, well, what is QUAAF? Like, what do they do on a regular basis? This session will be recorded, so once you're registered for this session, you will receive a copy of the recording, and we, of course, will save some time at the end to answer any and all of your questions. But before we get started, we always like to do a land acknowledgement. So Smith, Toronto is situated on the traditional territory of the Huron-Wendat and the Biton First Nations, the Seneca, and the Mississaugas of the Credit River. We are grateful to be able to live, learn, and play on these lands. So once again, thank you so much for joining me here today, where we're going to be discussing QUAAF. A look at our agenda. So we're going to do some brief introductions. We're going to discuss what is QUAAF, the different roles and the structure of the club, what the time commitment, how much time is involved on a regular basis for this. So if you are interested in taking any one of our programs, so you want to learn about how do these students manage their schoolwork, group work, maybe even case competitions, and how much time do they need to spend on QUAAF? What is the application process on becoming part of QUAAF? Any advice they would have for how can you become part of the club? And then again, at the end, we will save some time for any questions that you may have. So I'll introduce myself, and then I'll allow both of our participants or guests to introduce themselves and tell you a little bit about what they do. So my name is Gary Hinds. I am the Associate Director for the Master of Finance program here at the Smith School of Business. My role is to tell you about the different opportunities available for you for the Master of Finance program. I also conduct interviews. So if you are interested in taking the Master of Finance program, I will be conducting an interview with yourself. And if you ever have any questions about the program itself, you can always reach out to me. So first, I'll start off with Sean to introduce himself, and then Ari will also introduce himself. So Sean.
Thanks so much, Gary, and thank you again for the opportunity. So you may be wondering, what is QUAAF? It's a pretty good question. Essentially, we are a student club or fund that manages real money, and you get real insights with real people in the industry, from investment banking, private equity, hedge fund trading, crypto bros, whatever that you're interested in. Really, you get exposure. Primarily, we focus on specific strategies or investments. I won't go too much into it, but it's real experience and an application of what you learn, content in the great course content that Gary and the Master of Finance program teaches you. And I'll touch up on anything that Arya doesn't add on to that as well.
All right, thank you so much, Sean. But would you like to do an introduction? Tell us who you are as well.
Yeah, so me, I'm the CEO of QUAAF, and essentially I make sure that the organization as a whole is headed in the right direction. I organize events, I organize partnerships, we put on stock pitch competitions, I get networking events going with the alumni as well, and I'm also integral with coordinating the board of directors with QUAAF. So we have a QUAAF board of directors, the executive board, as well as our alumni board of advisors. And so I make a lot of friends, I make a lot of people happy, and I'm here to deliver on the promises that they hope to see with QUAAF, and give as much opportunity and empowerment for you to really make your dreams come true.
And which program are you with?
I'm currently in the Master of Finance program, and I was actually, just by luck chance, I was working alongside the previous CIO of QUAAF. before applying, and I saw what he was doing, and I was so inspired that I decided to take a similar path and actually come to Queens, and mainly for QUAAF as well, actually, but also for all the content and amazing teaching that they have included.
Oh, that's interesting. So you were working full time. You mean outside of QUAF, you were actually working with the person who was the CIO while they were in QUAF. Is that correct?
Yes.
Oh,
So
interesting.
yeah, so depending on your hours commitment, it's pretty light if you're an analyst. I'd say maybe 5 to
Well,
10 hours.
let's not. We'll touch on that. We'll touch on that after.
Okay.
Yeah. Let's let Ari introduce himself first.
Yeah, hi guys. Thank you so much for the opportunity, Gary. My name is Ariman. I'm currently the Chief Investment Officer at QUAAF. I'm also in the Masters in Finance program. We are at 2025. I started off as an analyst as well, and then went on from analyst to portfolio manager, and then now CIO. What I do is I look after the investments, which is the backbone of QUAF and what we do. We have three investment teams. We have real estate, fund of funds, and thematic. And I'm overseeing the three teams and the analysts and the portfolio managers. So yeah, that is what I do as CIO.
All right, fantastic. So Sean, tell us again, QUAF itself, what do you do? Like, we always hear about this is a student-run club, you're managing real money. What does that mean? For anyone who's interested, so let's say I'm somebody who's interested, I'm going to be taking part in one of these programs I'm going to be joining, and I'm interested in QUAF. So tell me, why should I be interested in QUAF?
Yeah, that's a fair point, and I wish you would have told me earlier. It would have been amazing to have you on the team. Uh, for essentially what that would look like real world wise, like what that materializes into. We have essentially an ongoing weekly meeting every week, every Sunday at 6 p.m. Typically, these meetings are stock pitch presentations, where each investment team or a strategy team. So to back up, we have four essential components of QUAF: our data, risk, investments, and strategy teams. Within the strategy team, we have the PM and analysts, or the director and analysts, and within the investment team, we have three teams, like Arya already outlined amazingly. So with that being said, each team rotates a presentation each week. So you will work with your team, you will see other teams do presentations on how to pitch a stock, on how to do financial modeling, on how to do an equity report, how to, you know, look at street targets at equity reports from RBC, TD, all the big banks, see who actually knows what they're talking about and who is possibly not within the approximate range that you see, because these guys are experts, and I greatly respect all their opinions, but not everybody knows everything, and I know I don't either. So it's about seeing what everybody else sees, but being able to ask why it's like that and challenge it and come up with your own view that's unique and you can add value, essentially, if that answers the questions.
Yes, of course. Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing. So do you have advisors as part of QUAF? Like, how are you guys making your decisions? Maybe this is a question, Sean, you can answer, and then Ari, I want you to also contribute to how are you making decisions on your portfolio?
Yeah, great question. So essentially, let's say I have an idea for a stock pitch. Like back in August, I thought Lululemon was going to be really good, and I pitched on August 18th. Lululemon was a buy, and so I would look at equity reports or analyst reports just like you would, and you get great access, like actually world-class access through Queens, through Capital IQ, through Bloomberg terminals. Um, it's amazing. So you basically have all this information, all this world-class data ahead of the entire world, and you can create models, create equity reports, and so you essentially justify the price target based on what you believe in its stock quantitatively and qualitatively, both with the company itself, the industry as a whole, and as well as the market potential catalysts or risks that you see in that segment. And I'll let Arya add on to any points that I missed there.
No, thanks, Sean. So he pretty much covered what what an analyst would do, but in order to get the report or like get the stock that you want in the QUAAF portfolio, you have to do the work that Sean mentioned, and then in the all hands meeting that we have every weekly, which is every Sunday, it's like a weekly touch point, and we have the entire QUAAF team there. So you'd be given an opportunity to present that stock pitch, whether you want to do it in a presentation form or an equity report form or whatever. And then we have a vote with the entire team to see if people like the investment thesis that has been presented and they think it's a good addition to the QUAAF portfolio. And if we get majority of votes there, and if we have any edits or like anything we discuss in the meeting that needs to be completed, we do that, we make the final edits, and then it's ready to go. We present it to the board, and then, that's, if they like it, that's a green light for us to get that into our portfolio.
Thank you so much. So you both mentioned something there that I found very interesting. Well, Ari, you actually mentioned it where you talked about it's brought forward by the analyst. So let's talk about the roles. You mentioned that you start off as an analyst and then eventually you move from an analyst to I guess one of the executives. You're now the CIO, and Sean, you're now the CEO. So can you talk to me about two things? Like what is the difference between the roles of an analyst when you join QUAAF to your roles now as the CEO and the CIO? Like, what are those differences? And also, I also want to know how. Yeah, no, let's start off with that first. Let's start off with that.
No, yeah, no, perfect. So technically pretty much there's three levels. You have like the analyst, and then you're like the portfolio manager, director, and then you're the C level. So I start off as an analyst where we were doing the dirty field work, researching, putting up models, think investment thesis, working with the strategy team, figuring out the macro outlook for the specific stock or a fund or whatever we are trying to pitch, and pretty much coming up with an equity report. We can do it by ourselves individually, or we can work in two or three different analysts could work together. Usually it works as like, if you're the real estate team, two or three analysts work together for one pitch for the real estate portfolio, similar for the fund of funds and thematic. So that's what the analyst does, is pretty much like a lot of work in terms of like the field work. And then when you get promoted, or the next level is portfolio manager or director. So I was a portfolio manager of the thematic team. So then you are, along with doing that field work, you're also leading a group of 4 or 5 or 6 analysts who are in your team to do this research. And your role kind of expands more. It's not only limited to just doing the field work. It's now you're the connect between the executive team and the analysts, and like you're passing on that information. So a little bit more of a leadership role. And then the position I'm in right now, the chief investment officer, that's pretty much the first guy when it comes to investments team. So very huge responsibility that comes with it. Leadership is more about leadership and more about overseeing the fund than it is about doing the dirty work, even though I'll still do it. It's always fun. You're always an analyst, regardless of what title you have. So then so the chief investment officer is pretty much the highest you can go in terms of the investment team. And that's pretty much what the structure looks like.
Yeah, great point. And just to add on to that, the great points that Arya had already. For context, typically the fund size, depending on the interest of the cohorts, different each year, range between 40 people to around 75 people. So there is some great variability in terms of the size of how many people we have on the fund. Typically, each fund, it varies depending on the year, depending on the interest. Like Ari already mentioned, it's probably around, a handful of analysts to maybe even at maximum around of 8 of 10 per team, depending. We like to support the creative freedom. So typically for the analysts, they would have the creative freedom to come up with certain ideas or certain segments, or maybe one analyst would cover, industrials, or one analyst might look at a typical, a different segment of the market. If there's a specific team that's supposed to present for each week. If there's no, exceptional ideas that are already put forth by the analyst to the PM, then the PM might have maybe their own idea or set like an example, like, oh, here's the market dominant player. They have good dividend growth. They have great distributions for FFO, or they're priced relatively well compared to their competitors, and so they might give a little help or push in the right direction should the analysts have a hard time seeing a specific opportunity in the market, because it's crazy right now, as you all know, the political and economic environment with tariffs. It's a dynamic environment, so certainly you have to. Ari is really on top of our investments, so am I. So I'd say the main difference from CEO to CIO would be more. Ari is an expert with the investments, and I'm managing people more so directly, like really corralling and rallying the troops to kind of get behind a common idea. And so from a bit of my backstory, both my parents were real estate brokers. I love real estate infrastructure. The deal would fall through at 3 a.m. and there you are writing it up to get it done. So I love the hustle. I love the grind. So from there, I went from portfolio manager, and back then we had a lot of more candidates, even more. So there was the PM and then the associate PM, kind of like the second hand for each team, depending on how many people we have. We either have the PM or the APM. And so I was setting a bit of the tone for the real estate team. And then I was lucky enough, and I'm so grateful for the opportunity to be the CEO. And I help sure we're all on the same page and really set the direction with the board specifically, because there's a lot of great people at QUAAF as well. So trying to take some of the work off their plates that we can just focus on the fun.
Oh, fantastic. So I heard you mention a few positions there. How large is the QUAAF team? How many people are involved? Specifically, maybe on the executive side, and how many analysts do you have?
So we have 5 people on the executive C level, at least 5 positions: CEO, CIO, Chief Strategy Officer, Chief Operating Officer, Officer for like data and risk, and then Chief of Staff. And then we have the PMs for so there's 3 investment teams, as I mentioned: real estate, thematic, and fund of funds. So we have PMs for all 3 of them. There's a director of strategy, which is just below the chief of strategy, and then the same way for the data and risk team as well. In terms of analysts, we don't have a set number, as in like, oh, we cap it to 5 or we cap it to 6. It just depends on candidates showing interest. Like, we are interviewing candidates this week for new analyst positions, and there's a lot of interest this year, and we're so excited to be interviewing every one of them and see. So we don't particularly have a cap. We just want to make sure people are interested and committed, and so far what we've seen is that, and everybody's super committed and excited and want to learn about QUAAF and be a part of it. So we don't necessarily have an exact number, but if you're talking about right now, currently, I would say we have about, on average, like 5 analysts per team.
Okay. And how much money now is under management? How much money are you managing right now in your portfolio?
It's approximately $670,000.
Wow. All right. Amazing. And how much time is involved from a commitment standpoint? Because you're both students in the Master of Finance program, and your program is busy. It's a 1-year program. Most of our programs here at Smith are 1 year. So if somebody is considering applying for QUAAF, how much time do you think they should be looking at in terms of their time commitment for the club?
Yeah, Ari, do you want to answer this first, and I can add on any points?
Sure. So it just, what I think of it is how much you put into QUAAF is how much you get out of it. So we have a lot going on. We have pitches every week, so there's a lot of work. And when you join as a new analyst, we also have a boot camp, which is also super intensive. We learn technical skills, how to pitch a stock pitch, creations, and all of that stuff. So the time commitment is, I would say, when I started as an investment analyst, I put in anywhere between 10 to 15 hours a week. And then slowly, as you kind of like, if you want to develop more into leadership roles, because that's another opportunity within QUAAF, to lead a team where we're managing real money is literally the best hands-on experience you can get as a student. So if you were to apply for these leadership roles, like portfolio manager, your time commitment, of course, increases a little bit depending on how many analysts you're managing and what's going on in the portfolio. And then when you're on the C level, like of course your time commitment is a lot because not only you're managing and overseeing your team now, which for me is now about like 15, 16 analysts. It's also that you are also putting together the investment team and you are responsible for them. So you're in the executive meetings, you are talking to the board, and like you're coordinating a lot of stuff. So the time commitment keeps increasing as you keep going higher.
Yeah, I would generally follow that same opinion as well. And it's important, like it's not obligatory, or if I pronounce that correctly, to move up. Like if you're enjoying the analyst role, we've had people who absolutely killed it and we offer them a higher role, but maybe with time and family, it wasn't right for them at the right time, and that's completely okay. You still get a lot of value out of QUAF too. It is possible. So I was working full time. I was doing this program, studying for the CFA and being an analyst. So if you want to do it, and if you want something bad enough, you can make it work. There's no issue with time commitments. And if I can do it, anybody can. And I came in with an analyst role. And if I can make it CEO, and Arya started as an analyst and he can make it CIO, then you can too. It's really just about grit, determination, and if you're committed. I'd say as soon as I became CEO, I could not balance full-time work with the program and studying at the same time. It was just not feasible. I do need to sleep at some point. I'd say, our service level agreement will say as the business needs. Once you go above an analyst role, I and you feel free to validate this or not. Ari, if you think, I'd say 10 to 15 hours as an analyst, maybe 20 hours, 25 as a PM, and maybe in an executive team, depending on your role, around 40, possibly more, possibly a little less. It really depends on, it's all voluntary, and however much you put into it is how much you get out. And when I was promoted and I had the opportunity to become CEO, I quit my full-time job because it is that big of an opportunity. It can and will change your life if you are committed and determined. It's just really whether you put in the effort to make that happen.
Yeah, if you're putting like 30, 40 hours a week, people are noticing. And we have a great Queens itself has a great alumni network, but QUAAF in general as well, as people who are in all these amazing positions at like corporate finance roles, which most people in masters in finance especially want to break into. And it's a great connect and people notice it. And when they notice it, they want to help you, right? So it's just as I mentioned, as Sean mentioned, it's how much you put into it is what you get out of it.
All right, fantastic. And Arya, you mentioned a little while ago that you're currently going to be, or the team is going to be interviewing analysts soon. So can you well, both of you actually, can you tell us a little bit about the application process? So if somebody is a new student in one of our master's programs and they're interested in becoming part of QUAAF, like what does that application process look like?
Yeah, so what we do is we basically, well, for example, the recent MBA cohort just joined us, right? So we were pitching, or like we go to Kingston, or this time we did it online, but we go there. That's our first step. We pitch QUAAF, like something similar to what we're doing here, but we go into a little more detail about QUAAF and what the fund is, our holdings, our investment philosophy, and all of that. And then we tell them about the application process, which is pretty much in a nutshell, it's a 250-word statement on why you want to join QUAAF and why you think you're a good fit and what you want to get out of it. And then a video response answering a few questions depending on what team you want to apply on. So if it's the investment team, it'd be something like, just for example, I'll just give you one question. It'd be like, if you had $10,000 to invest in, what assets would you be looking at? What would be your asset allocation and why? So that's just one of the other questions that we ask in like a video response. But if you're on a strategy or the data team that you want to apply to, of course, they have different questions for the video response. And of course, we need your resume. So those are the three things that we ask in the application. Once you send out that application before the deadline, we mention all of these things in our presentation that we give, and we also give it to the program directors so they can forward it to the people after in case they weren't there for when we presented. And then once we get your applications in, we review them, and then we set up interviews, and we discuss within the team. And we want to give everybody a chance because everybody shows interest and everything. And, we're not looking for people who are just like technically God gifted and are like financial modeling gurus. We are looking for people who are willing to put in the work and are committed and are interested. And then we review those interviews, and then we send out the offer letters.
Okay, fantastic. And do you have any advice for, and maybe both of you can share, any advice for anybody who may be interested on how they can become a part of, like, what can increase their chances for success in being selected as an analyst for QUAAF?
Yeah, so and in case, I apologize, we didn't mention already, like Ari mentioned, like some people come in and they've had maybe experience, directly experience, or maybe they haven't. It's not required to be that financial modeling guru right from day one. I came in from an operations and sales background. So if you come in and you show interest, and you're willing to learn and you just have like an open mindset, that's more so what we're looking for. And even though, the goal is to be the best of the best, to be world class, to deliver all the results, we are primarily focused on learning and helping empower others to make their dreams happen and to have all those extra skills or anything that maybe you want to learn on an extracurricular basis, maybe that you have more interest in from stuff in your school content. So really, if you just show that you're interested and stay dedicated, that's really the most important thing. It's there's no really high benchmark for terms of technicals, but more of a lot of qualitative drive and commitment that we look for in people that are applying.
In terms of advice, I'll just say if you are interested in, managing real money, when I first joined Queens, the first email I sent out to my to the program coordinator was that, what is like, how can I join QUAAF? Even though it said that they are going to have a session and they're going to tell us what it was, but I was just so intrigued by the fact that as a student you can do something like this. It's pretty much like running a hedge fund, and we're doing alternative investments. And so if you want to break into like corporate finance roles, this is a great opportunity. That's what I looked at. And if you come here and you show up and you put in the work, like the alumni and like the network that QUAAF has takes note, and they make their life's mission to go help you. And we've seen it with previous executive team, previous analysts, and we are also seeing it now where we are getting a chance to talk to industry experts on like a particular stock that we pitched, or like be paired with like mentors. If you're like really outperforming, you're one of the best performers, you get paired with a mentor in the field that you want to go in. So what's like, I don't know what else I can expect, and so it's just about being interested, and it's a great opportunity. If you're interested in this field, I would just apply. I would just look for these emails and like all of that stuff to see what the application process looks like, and then you can visit our website to see what we do, who we are, and all of that also. So yeah, I would just say if you're interested, for sure, 100% apply.
Yeah, and take advantage of that opportunity because we primarily only let people in that are current students. So then if you're nearing graduation in the last 2 months and a bunch of people typically show interest and they're like, oh no, I need all this extracurricular. Well, it's like, well, we've been here for 10 months and we're primarily focused on having the people who are now joining in different programs. And then you definitely need to be a Queen student. That's the whole point of helping Queen students. So seize the opportunity while you have it and definitely go after it.
Fantastic. Thank you both for sharing that little bit of advice there. And I think that last point that you shared, Sean, is really important because I never really think about telling our applicants that you should apply when you're just joined your program. And I didn't really think that a lot of students would start applying closer to their graduation date, but that is something that we should be aware of when we're talking about QUAAF, is that, seize the opportunity once it comes to you and not wait until you're getting ready to graduate to be part of this fantastic organization. So both of you, thank you. Hang out a little bit. So participants and anybody on the call right now, if you do have any questions, there's a Q&A button at the bottom. Please use it and send any questions our way. We're going to answer them in a couple minutes. Sean and Arya is going to be staying with us to answer any of your questions, but this is a time, if you have any questions about QUAAF, please submit them right now. I'm just going to wrap up this presentation with just one of the quotes from one of our former students, Julius, who was a part of QUAAF and also took part in other experiential learning activities such as case competition. I'm not going to go through his full quote, but one of the things that he did mention here is that, when he came in as a CEO, he wanted to make sure that there was a process around everything. So he used what he was doing as part of the CFA Research Challenge, and he brought it to QUAAF. So, he was someone who took advantage of all of the opportunities available to him while he was in the Master of Finance program. If you are interested in learning more about QUAAF, you can go to smithquaaf.com and you can learn all about the organization. So if you are interested, just go to smithquaaf.com and you can get more information about the portfolio. You can see who was a part of the team and learn more about the organization itself. This is the time where I'm going to pass it on to you to ask any questions that you may have. No questions have come in as yet, but if you do have any questions, please submit them now. We're going to take some time to answer them. All right, so Sean and Arya, we do have our first question. So one person wants to know, how is the club preparing you for equity research?
Yeah, so I'd say it couldn't get much better, to be honest, and to speak frankly. Just aside from our whole alternative hedge fund strategies that we employ, from an overall basis, you're also learning portfolio management. So I'd say that what Arya is able to teach you and what everybody here is able to teach you is twofold. So one section will be the hedge fund strategies and approach and quantitative and qualitative metrics that they look at, as well as the portfolio management side of actively managing the portfolio with X amount of timeline, depending on what team you're on. So really with equity research, you are essentially part of your job is being an equity research analyst. And so I've connected with vice presidents of foreign banks. I've been connected with industry professionals who I thought would never even answer my questions, and they were more than happy to have a real sit down with me because of my association and potentially, and of course nothing is guaranteed, but even potentially give recommendations or just give you solid advice and really give you the inside scoop on how to best prepare. They will essentially, you will be connected or have the opportunity to learn from people firsthand. And I find the hardest thing is getting your foot in the door, really. And so this helps you get your foot in the door with people in that industry.
Yeah, no, as an investment analyst in the investments team, what you're pretty much doing is not like 100% equity research that you would be doing in an equity research role at one of the banks, but it literally almost mirrors what it is. Like you're researching stocks, you're writing reports, and our reports are just not something you just put up in like an hour. A lot of work goes into that. We expect a lot of detailed, attention to detail in terms of like the data, and like you can't just just look up a report and just put it on there, because we are aware of what's happening. So a lot of work goes in there, similar to like an equity research role you do at any bank. And we have the executive team that looks at the reports. We have the alumni that look at the report. We have the board of directors. So people with like 20+ years of experience are looking at these reports. So you need to put in a lot of work in order to, get these reports passed on and make a mark on the QUAAF portfolio. And include the stock or the fund that you wanted to pitch in the portfolio. So I would say it's very similar. It just feels like, oh, it's a student club, but we don't really consider it a club. It's pretty much a fund where you're really managing real money and you're responsible for that. Like it's like a full-time job and you're like the CEO or like the CIO, right? Because it's real money. It's not some paper money trading that you do in class. So
Yeah, exactly. And you actually have the opportunity to connect with real hedge fund managers. And so typically, some of like a lot of our information isn't public, but we are connected to hedge fund managers who typically have a certain order size. As people are familiar in the industry, maybe the minimum investment size is normally $200,000, $400,000, $500,000 ticket size minimum for an order with these funds. We have connections, and because people are so happy to help out, just like we are, and we're grateful for the opportunity, they give us lower order size requirements. Now, I won't say which funds they are, but essentially we do have a lot of industry leading funds who like to see students do well and they want to help you, so we can get in on these great opportunities, and be part of a lot of research or connections or advice that's normally very hard to access in terms of capital.
All right, thank you both for sharing. I do have another question here, another great question. Does the club host firms from Bay Street and beyond for networking opportunities?
Yeah, so it depends on the year and it depends on who's organizing the event. I'd say every year we do, or every 6 months at minimum, we do a stock pitch competition. I'm trying to make that every quarter. I think it's fun. I love a good competition. Um, we are actively seeking both national as well as international partnerships with schools. We already have a partnership with QUAAF in Beijing, and we have them look at maybe some Eastern markets coverage as well as some Southern Asia coverage markets as well, to help give us more of fill in the blanks, I guess, from a global macro perspective. But in terms of specific events, we are actively looking at hosting different networking events or mixers of that sort.
Yeah, and we also have, this is something Sean really pushed for, and it's amazing. It's we are having these people from the industry who work in Bay Street come in for an alumni speaker event starting every Sunday, just starting next week. So it's something where these people are super, like, they're working professionals in the field that you want to break into, and they're coming and speaking to you. And this time it's not like they're speaking to you in front of a class with like 55, 60 other students. So you get their LinkedIn, but it's kind of lost. But this time it's a smaller group. It's like 20 people, the QUAAF team, 20, 25 people. And you get direct access to them. And they have some kind of relation to QUAAF or the alumni in QUAAF, which is why they're here to help or like talk to us. So
Yeah, our alumni network is very strong. I definitely greatly admire both Queen's alumni network as well as the QUAAF alumni network. We have people who we have, or well, I've organized it along with the other executives for every week up until the end of April. We have a guest speaker coming in to tell you about what they do or the inside scoop on their job. We have people from trading funds positions. We have people from risk analytics. We have people from corporate finance. We have people from investment banking, private equity. And these maybe aren't just like the interns, like these are the vice presidents, the directors, the MDs. So really the people who will give you the answers to everything you're looking for.
Right, fantastic. Sounds like a really great, well, I don't want to use the word club. It sounds like a great organization. And I want to thank you both for joining me here today, and keep up the great work that you're doing within the program and within the organization. That's all the questions that I saw being submitted. So I want to thank all of our guests as well for submitting those questions. If you are interested again in learning more about the organization, you could go to smithquaaf.com and you could get more information there. You can also reach out to both Sean and Arya about their roles. You can talk to them a little bit more there. In terms of our next information session, so if you are interested to learn more about the Master of Finance program specifically, We do have a program overview on February 19th, so feel free to register. If you are interested in submitting an application for the Smith Master of Finance program, you can start your assessment right now by scanning the barcode that's on your screen, or you can go to smithqueens.com/MFin and you can start your application. Our application process is fairly simple. All we require from you is an unofficial transcript and a copy of your resume, and that will get the process started. Well, I do have one final question that came in, Sean and Arya. So are you okay? You're happy to answer this final question?
For sure. Let's go.
All right, fantastic. So this final question is, as a QUAAF member, are you allowed to participate on campus recruitment for equity research, banking, or consulting? Not.
Of course. Yes. Big yes.
Yeah, and I think I know this name. I think this gentleman just connected with me on LinkedIn.
Oh, fantastic.
I love the follow-up here. For sure, you're definitely able to participate. It doesn't disqualify you, but something that I would learn is if you're a part of QUAAF and you're applying for a job, definitely make it a point to say that the job you're applying for, and this is of course true, that the job is the priority, like that this isn't going to get in the way essentially of what you're doing. So although we're so grateful for the opportunity, but definitely if you're speaking to a campus recruitment, or make a small note on your resume, would be my 2 cents, would be to like clarify that it's not full-time employment that's going to stop you, because technically, like Gary said, we're not actually we're not a club. We are a registered investment fund, and typically most employers may have a problem with you actually working for us legally. They have to clear it with certain regulatory bodies, because technically you are employed because you sign a contract with us for 2 funds, and typically both funds in this space don't like you to be employed by 2 funds. So it is something to definitely check with your employer prior to signing up. I wouldn't want you to post it on LinkedIn and then find out they have an issue with it. So for sure, just check that in advance.
Fantastic. All right. Thank you so much, both of you. Thank you so much for the great questions. If you are interested, are people free to connect with you on LinkedIn if they would like?
Definitely spam, harass me. I'll give my email to Gary, and for sure find me on LinkedIn, as this gentleman already did.
Yeah, I was like down. That was quick.
All right, that's fantastic. So thank you both again for your time. Thank you everyone for participating. Thank you so much for the great questions. Again, if you're interested in the next information session to learn more about the program itself, the Master of Finance program, please go ahead and register for our February 19th information session. All right, that's it from us. Please enjoy the rest of your day or rest of your night or morning, depending on where you're joining us from. Take care. Bye-bye now.
Thank you, Gary.
Thank you.
Yeah.